Hello everyone, thanks for joining today's class. Today we are having an introductory class on business analysis. Starting with my introduction, my name is Vivek Kumar. I am a business analyst team lead working for Accenture in the United Kingdom. In the past, I have also taken the role of a Scrum Master in Accenture itself. Before that, I have worked for TCS, that is Tata Consultancy Services, initially as a front-end developer and later as a business analyst. Apart from that, I hold ITIL Foundation certificate and I am also a certified Scrum Master. Talking about my educational credentials, I am an MBA from IIM Rohtak and I have done my 2 years of full-time MBA in the area of marketing and IT. I am also a BTech in information technology from BIT Sindri. Let us get quickly into the business analysis topic. Now, what is a business analysis? In simple terms, business analysis is a practice in which you analyze the need of your customer, document them, and help that and identify the solution and help that solution to get implemented. Now, every project has three phases, whether it is a IT or a non-IT project. The first phase is pre-project, then we have the project phase, and finally the post-project. In the pre-project, we discuss the rationale behind um, taking that work because a lot of money, a lot of resources gets invested in the implementation of any project. That's the reason the rationale need to be very clear in the beginning itself. Then we have the delivery phase. In the delivery, the actual analysis, then the coding, testing, and release management happens. And finally, we have the last post project phase where the benefit of the solution is discussed. Now, in case of business analysis process, we have divided these three phases in strategy analysis, RADD, which is nothing but requirement analysis and design documentation, and finally we have solution evaluation. Now, what is strategy analysis? Now, strategy from a company perspective is the business goal the firm wants to achieve. Now, it can be in terms of number of customers they want to increase, or in terms of reduction of the operational cost, or it can be in terms of increasing the revenue or increasing the profit, but it has to be in some kind of quantitative term which can later be analyzed. Then we have the during project phase where a business analyst will analyze the requirement and create a design document of the requirement which will be implemented during the course of the project. Finally, we have the solution evaluation where the final solution which we were able to achieve with the process of the regular business analysis task. Now, this final outcome is then analyzed both in terms of what we were able to achieve and also in terms of what more we can achieve. Now, that more could either be removing any of the gaps in the solution or could be in the form of opportunities to better optimize our solution. We'll discuss all these in detail in the upcoming classes. Moving ahead, now whenever we talk about business analyst, many people who are not very familiar with the recent agile framework get confused with a project manager. In reality, there is a clear distinction between both these roles. Let us talk about the project manager first. Now, in the current time, a project manager is a person who is responsible for allocating budget to the project, then planning how that budget is going to be spent, how many resources are required for the project, whether the resources will be working from office or if they are going to work from home, and also what kind of technologies will be used for the implementation of the project, whether we are going to use agile or waterfall implementation models. So all these decisions are made by a project manager. On the contrary, we have the business analyst. A business analyst will talk to the business owner, which is often termed as sponsor, and also the technology people, as in the here in our example, the project manager, to understand the requirement both from the business and technology perspective. Based on that, a business analyst has the responsibility to identify the need, and then they have to come up with a proposed solution. Once the proposed solution has been received, the, the business analyst has also the responsibility to get that solution implemented by, by documenting the solution in a form which can be understood by the dev team. So there is a clear distinction between a business analyst and a project manager. Moving ahead, what does a business analyst do? Now, any person who performs one or more of these jobs is a business analyst. So any person who discovers the information, synthesizes the information, and or analyze that information, that person is a business analyst. Now let us understand the meaning of uh, these uh, these points. What is discovery of information? Now information is something which is everywhere, right? And but we need to identify, search for that, identify, and then finally document it in a manner that can be understood by the team. So that process is called discovery of information. That you have to discover. You cannot create an information. You first need to discover. Then we have the analysis of the information. Analysis is basically breaking down the information. Sometimes the information which is available with you might be very big, and it will be difficult to understand that. To make more sense out of it, you will have to break it down into smaller chunks. That is called analyzing the information. Then we have the synthesizing. Now it is reverse of what we discussed in analysis of the information. There are many occasions where you will gather the information from multiple sources. Now all that information in its individuality may not mean anything to you, but if you will combine that to create a big picture, that may bring meaning to it. That is called synthesizing the information. So any person who performs one or more of these items is actually performing the job of a business analyst. Now let us see some of the high level activities which a business analyst will perform. A business analyst has the foremost job of understanding the enterprise problems and goals. Unless and until you identify the problems and goals of an organization, you cannot bring up a solution. Right? So that's the reason this is the foremost responsibility of a business analyst. Then it has to devise the strategies. Now, to achieve a goal, there can be multiple strategies. A business analyst has to identify these strategies, come up with several solutions, compare them, get the pros and the cons listed, understood by the stakeholders, and finally approved and move ahead with the implementation. Then we have the facilitation of the stakeholder and collaboration between the stakeholders. Now, what is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is any person who is able to either contribute in the project or who might get impacted by the outcome of the project. A business analyst has to facilitate this stakeholder collaboration to get the maximum information out of it and also to get approvals, because you a business analyst comes in between all the stakeholders. One stakeholder might have a requirement which may hurt another stakeholder, so they have to interact with all of them, get a consensus from them on a particular solution, and then move ahead with that. Then we have driving change as the activity. Now, what is driving change? Driving change is basically the implementation part of it. So, a business analyst has to lead the implementation of the solution. Why do we expect the business analyst to lead the implementation, not a dev lead or a test lead? Not dev or test lead may be very intelligent and very capable people, but they have only one understanding of the solution. They only understand the technical part of it, the technological part of it. But the business analysts have an understanding of both the technical and the business. So they understand the technological limitation, and at the same time they understand the business goals. So they are the best people in the team to drive that change. And finally, they have to analyze the needs and the solution. Now, again, this is similar to what we discussed earlier. A business analyst has to analyze the final solution which has been achieved. Once the solution is achieved, then the business analyst has to review it, provide a feedback on whether there is a gap or whether there is an improvement opportunity in it. Moving ahead, we have 6 knowledge areas of a business analyst. Now, these knowledge areas are basically the areas where a business analyst performs their work, or a business analyst need to work on all these 6 areas in order to complete their task. Now, not all these knowledge areas will be worked upon by the business analyst at the same time. It might be possible that in the initial stage of the project they are working on 2 of the knowledge area, later again another knowledge area will come, and similarly it will be an iterative process. Let us understand the meaning of all these knowledge areas on a high level, starting with business analysis, planning and monitoring. Now, business analysis, planning and monitoring is the stage in which comes at the very beginning of any project, where a business analyst will coordinate with among the stakeholders to gather the requirement of the project. Now, what is required to be done from the perspective of planning, and they'll plan how the actual work will be implemented, and they will try to gain a consensus between the stakeholders. After that, the elicitation and collaboration work will be performed. Elicitation is nothing but gathering of information. A business analyst need to interact with several stakeholders relevant to that particular item, gain the requirement from them, and then finally get a consensus from all the stakeholders on the solution. Then they have to manage the requirement life cycle. Now, what is the requirement life cycle? From the start of the project to the expiry or the retirement of the project, in between, all the requirements need to be managed properly. Now, first, in this case, first of all, they need to note down all the requirements. Once the requirements are noted down, then they will have to capture the stages of the requirement based on the progress they are making within the implementation of the project. That statuses need to be managed. More data, more analysis may be required in between, and all that need to be managed. Now that management in real world is done through the help of tools. One of the very popular tools is Jira. So in Jira, what we do, we write all the requirement in the form of user stories, and then the statuses of that user story will tell the picture of where we are in the implementation journey of that project, right? After that, we have the strategy analysis. Now, strategy is again what the I mean the overall goal of the project. A business analyst need to collaborate with the stakeholders to identify what is the strategic goal for this particular project. As I said before, it can be anything. It can be the increase in revenue, or it can be better profitability, it can be to increase the customer base, or maybe Amazon wants to launch a, a sale. So that could be the strategic goal. The strategic goal could be different. So that strategic goal a business analyst has to identify. Then the requirement analysis and design definition phase will begin. In the requirement analysis and design definition phase, the business analyst, with whatever information they were able to gather, will structure, organize, model, and design the requirement. Now, this design can be done in the form of process flows, use cases, and many other items, right? Or it can be only in the form of the user stories. So they have to analyze and then prepare the design documents. And finally, we have the solution evaluation. In case of solution evaluation, as we discussed before, the performance of the final delivered solution is analyzed and improvement opportunities are discussed and then documented so that the benefit of the outcome of the project can be properly availed. So this is the end